and welcome to this reading where today we are going to look at what do you not give yourself enough credit for. So we have 3 different groups to choose from, and I do invite you as you think about it to take a big deep breath all the way in and letting it out, relaxing the shoulders, softening the jaw, and letting your heart, your intuition, guide you to whichever message is most beneficial for you today. And once you're ready, I'll meet you there. Hello, group number 1. So the first thing that I am seeing for you is that you don't give yourself enough credit for how powerful you are outside of your relationships and connections. And that message is not meant to speak down on any of your connections or commitments. It's more of an acknowledgement of how much your capacities are, how clear your vision, how warm your fire. You are someone who is able to hold the complexity of the world with such fullness in so many layers of understanding. Your perception takes in not just the surface but the intricacies, the interconnected realities, all the different narratives and relationships between things, and your understanding of the world encompasses not just the present moment, not just your immediate cultural environment, but the way human beings connect across history, even the interrelated web of living beings more than humanity. I think you must be someone tapped into an almost cosmic consciousness, because I'm getting this image of you witnessing the birth and evolution and return or cessation and rebirth of life and consciousness with this reverence for the mystical, for the patterns in which our souls dance. I would also guess that you may be a very compassionate person, someone who is able to contextualize behavior within people's lived experiences. And so even if someone is acting out or doing something you don't agree with, you are probably still viewing them with compassion and understanding of what generated that behavior for that person. I do see a degree of guardedness or even a little sadness with you, but I think this is probably saying, if you want to be close with me, then I need to know that you can respect all that I see, all these interwoven layers of mystery and experience, these patterns of living conscious evolution, and these potentially hidden factors that motivate us. I think this must be a very mystical group, and I wonder if you have developed some boundaries over time which say, I will treat anyone with respect, but if you want to be my close ally, you will need to have the strength to be around the breadth of my insight and the clarity of my vision. And truly, if you want closeness with me, you need to honor and celebrate that, in the same way that I honor and celebrate the depth and richness and complexity that you bring to the world. So there is this foundation of self-worth which doesn't require others to put your view above theirs, but it does demand that your view be respected, even where there's disagreement. And this is probably an energy which says, I can still love you, even if I don't agree with everything that you say or do, and I know that you can still love me if you don't agree with all I say or do, because I have this foundation of knowing my divine worthiness and knowing yours too. And you are someone who allows relationships to be complex and dynamic, and at the same time that they are supportive and full of love. And I wonder as well if, because you have the oracle of Our Lady of Great Power, you may have had a bit of a journey with diminishing your power or diminishing all you perceive and understand, making yourself small to uphold the status quo, and maybe you have had to build up enough self-love and self-trust to be able to say, hold on a minute, I fully respect my own complexity, and I fully respect yours too. Will you join me in this meaningful foundation of warmth and love and respect, which honors our full and complete relationship to each other, where we don't have to hide parts of ourselves in order to stay loving? I know that I carry something sacred and divine in the world, and I know that I'm part of a divine cosmic dance, and I honor that all beings are part of this interplay and this flow. That's why I don't ask you to diminish what you are in order for me to love you, and I don't ask you to agree with me on everything, because you bring your own power to this world, and you have your own mystery, and we are all part of something so vast and extraordinary and brilliant and multifaceted that I can be excited and interested to know you and to celebrate both our commonalities and our differences. And maybe our differences can even collaborate and inform each other in meaningful ways. You might even be someone who has the experience where not every part of you even agrees with yourself. So how would you agree with all of someone else? And this is a big part of what you don't give yourself enough credit for: your wisdom, your insight, and your complexity, and your compassion. So we also have cedar here, and cedar is used in shamanic medicine to heal our ancestral lineage. And what I'm actually getting with that is that you may be a lineage bearer of some kind. You might be part of carrying something sacred from your ancestors or from your teachers who have held it before, and holding it in a very pure way, carrying it with a strength of character that almost blocks out the noise or confusion of the world that would interfere with whatever this particular gift is. I want to say this is almost an initiatory force, something which can initiate others into a deeper understanding of something. And this again ties into this very mystical energy that I was picking up for you. Although I just got a flash that for some of you, this is not spiritual mysticism, but you are holding something else in a pure way, which gives people a very distinct experience. I'm thinking of an old employer of mine. This is a woman who owned a restaurant, and she had her own farm which supplied the restaurant. So this woman was basically working non-stop to give people this very unique, very authentic, pure experience of interacting with their food and where it came from. And so not only was she working these 16 or 18-hour days most of the time, but she was also hugely respectful to her employees, and she paid a baseline that was much higher than any of the other restaurants that were around where I was at the time. And so her employees were earning a livable wage as well as receiving, benefits that she had worked out. And she was running this really remarkable business that was, it was basically driven by one individual's strength of character with this very pure, traditional, authentic thing that this woman was bringing into the world, almost by herself. And this is the type of strength that they are showing me that you have. And I want to say that this also speaks to the power of what you carry in this world, which might not have an exact match. So that's interesting. My guides are highlighting that idea that what you carry and what your power brings into this world doesn't have an exact match. And reminding me of the initial message that you are not giving yourself enough credit for the ways that your power exists outside of your relationships. So maybe this is saying that even though you may have wonderful collaborators, you are also responsible for bringing something quite unique into the world, something that rests just on your shoulders because you have this strength and this way of carrying something that no one else does. Your spirit, your soul is so strong that you can do this under your own authority. And again, I do think that your friendships and your partnerships will support this, but it will at the same time be its own thing that doesn't really belong to anyone else. Or if this is in the context of a collaboration, then the thing that you offer has its own unique strength, and the things that others offer have their own unique strength. For example, the woman that I used to work for, she was not a chef, but her business partner was. So while he was making extraordinary food, she was running an extraordinary business which provided that food and provided the environment and employment for people. And together they made something that was more than a farm and more than a fine dining restaurant, because it was a combination of the two. And I wonder as well if you've had a journey of recognizing more and more what your power is, what you truly offer this world, almost like clearing the muck off your perception of yourself and recognizing the jewels hidden within you all along. You may not have realized the value of what you had for some time. And this may still be an area where you don't give yourself enough credit, but I want to say that this will become more and more evident over time, and you will bring more and more out of yourself with more confidence. The next thing that I'm seeing that you don't give yourself enough credit for is your ability to balance things. For example, this could be your ability to balance the past with the present if you are carrying something more traditional into the present day. Or this could be balancing your own multiplicity with the singularity of a particular intention that you wish to bring into the world. Or it could be your ability to balance many different points of view without losing your own integrity. For some of you, I'm seeing a theme of threes. So some of you may have two other people with whom you work or live closely, or two different perspectives informing how you make decisions. This could even be balancing two different sides of a family, if there are divorced parents or something like that, where you can listen to everyone, but you still hold your own power and your own sense of self. And for others of you, this could be that you have integrated your masculine and your feminine energies well enough that they are both speaking through you in equal measure. Both your capacity to be receptive and nurturing, generative, pillar of strength in a feminine way, and your capacity to take action and plant new seeds and embody this productive and protective strength in a masculine way. All of this is well balanced within you. I think that you are also not afraid to be receptive to all kinds of understanding, and maybe you seek to understand things from all different sides. And I also think that even as you balance all this input, the ancestral and the modern, and the spiritual and the physical, and the masculine and the feminine, the left and the right, and the mother and the father, and even as you balance all of this and let it fill your cup of understanding, you still carve your own path. You still carry this forward in your own way. Your heart, your fire, your creativity is all your own. And I do see this boundaried element to that, like, yes, I will listen to every side. Yes, I will let the past inform the present. And yes, I will listen with my heart and my mind. And yes, I may work together with others, but my choices are my own. My path is my own, and my identity is my own. I am incarnated from this astonishing multiverse as this being at this time, and I must be fully myself because that is how I honor my own divinity. And fully honoring myself is the way that I can fully honor you too. So maybe you also encourage or even slightly challenge others not to stay small. Challenge them to live in their full potential and authenticity as well. And I feel as though not everyone can understand you, and that is fine. You may not be for them to understand right now. But even if they don't, even just catching sight of you or catching a glimpse of you in your full authenticity may still change people's perception of what is possible for them ever so slightly. You introduce people to a different level of being or understanding just by being yourself. And by doing so, you open a window for others to explore what's calling them, what they might never have realized there was space for if they didn't meet you. I want to say that you enhance this world and you dance with this divine evolution the more fully you are yourself. And just by being yourself, group 1, you carry the past into the future, and you see the mystery in what to others might appear mundane, because you know that really none of this is mundane. The entirety of existence is extraordinary. Group 1, who on earth are you? You are something, that's for sure. You are a very enlivened and awake soul. Interacting with your energy right now, it feels like a direct interaction with the universe. And I think that your oracle card, which says great power, is spot on. So this power and this boundaried, extraordinary selfhood within a multifaceted universe is what you don't give yourself enough credit for. And my goodness, what a reading. This is such a juicy energy. So I will leave you here, group 1, and I will wish you all the very best. Hello, group 2. So, wow, what you don't give yourself enough credit for is how very much you have to offer. I almost feel as though you have these areas of deep skill that you might play down or even blow them off as though they're less impressive than they are, when another person might be thinking, if I had even one of the skills that group 2 has, I would be happy. I think you don't even see your own brilliance. I wonder if some of you are highly educated, but maybe you're so focused on achieving something specific that you're not even congratulating yourself for the work that you've done. This could be someone who already has multiple degrees or certificates, but you are so focused on some level of mastery that incorporates all of it that you haven't even stopped to acknowledge that lots of people would be proud to achieve even one of the things that you've done. That is an example for some of you. And with Our Lady of Answered Prayers, I think you also don't give yourself enough credit for what a blessing you are to others. It's like other people see you as this gift, this person who ticks so many boxes of what they were looking for and more, adding these extra levels that they didn't even think of in a very balanced and beautiful way. And what I think is really interesting too is that you appear to be this very well-resourced person in terms of skill and insight and training and creativity and all of those different areas, but it feels as though you sort through these different levels of skill or whatever it might be in order to bring out what will be most supportive in the moment. So you don't inundate people, you just offer them something directly helpful. But you have this huge toolkit of useful things. So this is so sweet. I wonder if some of you are actively making note of what helps people just as part of your natural habit. And so once you've made a note of something something that helps in one circumstance, you are ready to bring it out for others when they need something similar, which is just so kind. I wonder if this is a group of healers and helpers. I do see you balancing a lot with this too. Balancing intuition and thought and creativity and action and emotion, and doing it all in a very peaceful and gentle way. And for all your skill, I really don't think that you are prone to showing off. You might teach people, but in general what you do is in service to the greater good, not just self-interest. I wonder as well, for those of you who are quite spiritually inclined, whether your connection to spirit is really focused on being of service in this way. I could imagine that this group are not the ones who are likely to preach as much as you are likely to take action. You may be the ones who demonstrate what you believe by how you act and how you treat others. And perhaps you are also quietly tending to what is sacred without outwardly trying to convince others of anything that they should think. You may also be a very pragmatic group who just get on with things when you see something to be done. And even if you do feel things deeply, you are also very grounded in how you choose to show up. And I wonder as well, if you are often keeping an ear out for the connections between things. Maybe you are doing work that generally requires you to be present and focused, and you are, but you also have some of your awareness alert to whatever parts you might not yet understand, or to making new connections or bringing new ideas that would be helpful in ways that haven't been done before. And this could also be your alertness to, sparks of inspiration or new ways to approach things, which is another thing that makes you such a gift, your willingness to have a fresh take on things. And group 2, I think that you also don't give yourself credit for how good-hearted you are. Your beautiful quality of kindness, your orientation towards seeing the best in people, your willingness to show up and do what you can to help, your willingness to be a team player even if you're in a position of leadership. I think you truly are the ones who lead by being of service. Now, I have the impression that you are both powerful and unassuming. You influence a space by creating safety and structure and shelter, and you're also unafraid to plant the seeds of new structures that may grow. I wonder as well if you are the type who is always ready to listen to new ideas and encourage other people to develop their own skills and their own approach to things. So, are you someone who trains or teaches people to do something? Are you one of those people who is always rooting for others to do well? And if you do have a position of leadership, I can see that you also take joy in seeing your team or your class develop their own skills and start their own projects. I think that you must be someone very trusted, group 2. Someone very admired and reliable who other people really want to work with. What do you do? Are you a teacher? Are you a healer? Are you a caseworker? So I'm also seeing a lot of vibrance here, like you know how to cultivate things so that they are able to flourish. Maybe some of you are farmers or gardeners too. Now, this is kind of funny, and I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I'm going to follow the thread and find out. I see for some of you a secret freedom. Or maybe this is a secret wish for freedom. So, how does this tie into a message about what you don't give yourself credit for? Do some of you have a certain level of detachment? Are you maybe someone who is willing to be put in all kinds of different environments or workplaces or parts of the world, and you'll offer just as much or work just as hard or bring out just as many gifts no matter where you are? I think that could be for some. What else could it mean? It does feel like lots of you are willing to be placed wherever you'll be most helpful. For others of you, maybe this is about freedom of intellect. Maybe you are not someone who is very stuck in their thinking, someone with quite a flexible mind. Or maybe you really like ideas that are flexible and can be useful in lots of different contexts. You'll have to let me know if I'm picking up on something about you, because I can't quite pinpoint what that means, but if it's resonating for someone, I'd love to know about it. Another thought, maybe you are not so attached to what you create. It could be that as long as something is useful and serves people well, you're not that bothered about whether or not you get the recognition for having come up with it. And it might be for some of you that this has to do with your spirituality. You might be someone who says, well, I don't need recognition for what was divine inspiration. We can recognize the divine for that. And I think if you do have that perspective, what's so funny is that this right now is you being given credit for the fact that you are generous enough not to need to be given credit for things as long as they're helpful, because that's amazing and quite unusual. And maybe there is a little nudge in this message to say it's okay to give yourself some recognition, you know? It's also funny, as I was shuffling, all these cards wanted to flip out, and it felt like there are so many things that you might not be giving yourself much credit for, which makes me happy that you're at this reading, because I want you to receive this encouragement and recognition from Spirit that you so often act in beautifully selfless ways, and they want to fill your heart up with love for that, almost as a thank you for all of this work that you are doing here in the world. And I'm getting another message here that there are some specific individuals, or maybe even lots of people, who have been really blessed by connecting with you. For some of you, this is because you work in a profession where you literally are helping people all the time, and there are so many people who benefit from what you do when they are really struggling. It is like the balance of your compassionate heart and your willingness and commitment towards taking action create all these blessings for others. And then there's also some of you who might not be directly in a helping profession, but there are a few individuals who you stepped into their lives and brought them hope when they were on the edge of giving up. Maybe you took them under your wing in some way. Maybe you gave them a place to stay when they didn't have anywhere. Maybe you saw them. Maybe you saw the good in them at a time when they had lost faith in the world. You may have helped some people who were feeling completely defeated by the systems, the social systems that we have. You may have helped them find resources or inspiration that they needed. You may also have helped people who felt that the world was just dark or against them in some way, and your actions and your kindness was a reminder that not everyone is callous or self-serving. And I think there also might be people who had become very self-defeating in their own minds, and maybe you helped reflect back to them their good qualities, and so reframe to them a little bit how they could think about themselves. And I'm also seeing that for some of you, there are ideas that you put in place which continue to serve people even after you are gone. something, some structure, some idea which continued to generate safety in some way to get people what they need, in spite of a system that was not set up to support them, or in spite of energies that might otherwise have controlled or affected them. Your input or your contribution to a space planted some seeds which are steadily growing and could ultimately create a completely different environment, one which is founded upon mutual support and collaboration rather than domination and extraction. And for those of you who are farmers or gardeners, or environmental workers, this could be that you literally create ecologically sustainable spaces which will continue to be fruitful and generate abundance for many years to come. And for others, this is that you set in motion some new way of operating or planted some new ideas into a place that are going to grow in people's minds to be given more recognition and respect than the previous way of doing things. For some of you as well, this is that you planted ideas within the minds of individuals which are ultimately going to lead them to treat themselves with more kindness or behave in more sustainable ways on the individual level. Maybe you shared techniques to help manage anxiety or teach healthier habits to support physical health. I think either way, or whatever this is, you have given people something which will continue to grow and take root and may ultimately create a world that is more kind and more sustainable. You are such a gem. And I hope that you are hearing this and taking it in. I hope that you are allowing yourself to be a little comfortable in taking credit for being part of this. Because there really are people for whom you have been the answer to a prayer. And I feel like there are some of you right now saying, the divine answered those prayers, not me, but group 2. You are the one who took action. You are the one who heard and responded to that call. You helped. You brought it into being, and you get credit for that. So, group 2, I'm going to leave you here and thank you for being such a kind and brilliant person, and I wish you all the very best. Hello, group 3. So, looking at what you don't give yourself credit for, my goodness, group 3, you are just so loving. You are radiant and magical and heart forward. I wonder if this is a group who resonate with the divine masculine, divine feminine type of journey or learning in the world, because this feels so connected to people who learn through the experience of love in all kinds of ways, including romantic love. I feel like just in general, though, if that's not you, you share so much encouragement and so much kindness into the world. I think this definitely feels present in how you express yourself. So maybe sometimes you are very effusive in how you interact with people and share your praise and your appreciation. Maybe you send people little messages of love often. And yeah, you do seem to me, and this will probably tell you if this is your group or not, but you seem to me to be someone who learns through the experience of love. Someone who learns through your relationships as an avenue of spiritual evolution. So maybe you allow your experiences of love to teach you about your nature and about the nature of the divine and about what it is to be incarnated here on earth. Now, this is actually interesting because at first I was feeling this very energizing, heart-centered frequency from you as I was tapping into your energy, but now I am feeling this very focused, observant energy, which is still very dialed into the experience of love, but now I am also seeing that you are very observant and allowing yourself to be taught by the painful parts of loving, attachment, and relationship. So maybe one of the things that you don't give yourself enough credit for is the fact that you are still willing to be taught about your true nature by experiences that hurt. I wonder if you are someone who keeps trying to come back to your heart when people hurt you, or when you feel disconnected or sorrowful. And so I am wondering if you allow your heartbreaks to teach you greater depth and let them connect you to more of humanity. And I think that many of you probably also stay in a place of seeing love as a divine and revelatory force, even when you are in pain. And I also want to say that when you are suffering or in pain for any reason, you probably are someone who keeps coming back to divine love and asking that force to help you understand, help you transmute, help you see a way forward. You may be very patient and willing to wait until you can find a loving path. And when you do have relational struggles, even if you're very hurt, you may still try and find a gentle way, or you may be willing to set your ego aside in order to stay informed by love. So it's really interesting because there was this initial excitement that I felt at meeting your energy, but then I got taken to how much you still stay centered in love when you're hurt or disappointed. And this could even be huge disappointments. So maybe you are someone who makes the effort to understand the other person's perspective. I could also imagine that you may be someone who feels compersion, someone who feels glad on some level when, even if someone you love is with someone else, even if you wish they were with you, you still let yourself be grateful that they're happy, even though you wish it were for you. So maybe if you do see love as a divine force, you accept that your heartbreaks are also lessons, and you allow yourself to become more than you were before you went through those experiences. I could also imagine that your commitment may be to the experience of love itself. So, whereas a person could have a commitment to a relationship, your commitment might be to the experience of you feeling love in all relationships, or in, your deep relationships. And so if there are particular connections that you really cherish and you hope they will continue, then maybe you also have acceptance if they fall away, and you're not malicious about it or spiteful, because you can still be grateful that you had that connection. And I can also see with you that maybe something that you don't give yourself enough credit for is that each relationship, each connection adds another layer of awareness, another expansion of consciousness, another facet to the jewel of your understanding, whether that is because you learned more about yourself, about the way another being experiences the world, or about the world itself. I can see all of these interconnected layers of understanding, all gleaned from the experience of love that is bigger than romance and bigger than friendship or family, or love of what you do, even though this is a love that encompasses all of those things. So I'm also seeing that you may be willing to stand in mystery. And maybe this means that when you are struggling to understand or struggling to see how you fit or what to do or which of your own unconscious patterns you may be stuck in, which are deciding your actions in some way that you haven't realized, you are still allowing for the possibility that love is teaching you something in that place. And this feels like you are someone who lets the experience of mystery or the unknown, and I'm particularly thinking of the challenging experiences, the challenges that cause us anxiety about the future or force us to face parts of ourselves and our history that we at one point wanted to hide from ourselves, and probably for good reason. We hide things from ourselves when we need to. However, when it's time, you allow those challenges to reveal new depths about who you are, and you have this willingness to face yourself. You let love challenge you and expand your understanding of things, even when that's uncomfortable, as well as celebrating the beauty of it, celebrating all of the sweet things and the blessings. And it's interesting with rue here, because rue is a bitter herb, and one that is not easy or delicious to take, but it does help our bodies cleanse and release in certain ways. Now, I wouldn't recommend going to find it because it is a very strong herb and it might cause problems if you're not using it correctly. But there is this energy of being willing to take your bitter medicine when you know that it's time to release or reveal something uncomfortable, even if you were really attached to whatever it was that you need to release. And interestingly, rue is also a protective herb in the magical sense. And sometimes we have to protect ourselves by letting go of the things that we were attached to, because if we don't let them go, they will hurt us. So the next thing that Spirit is showing me about you is something about you keeping silent. So I'm wondering what that means. Is it perhaps that you keep from speaking until you feel that what you say is truly from the energy of love, even if it's a hard thing to say? Group 3, I think you're very kind. There really is such purity of intention with you, and I wonder if the ones who chose this group are quite connected to angelic energy. Some of you might resonate with being earth angels, here to uplift the world with your frequency of love. And, if that's not your story, then don't worry about it. But there are some interesting messages I'm getting about the way that you speak. And I think that some of you have the courage to speak out against injustice, to shine truth on things even when it's hard. And in the same energy, but on the internal realm within your own personality, I think that some of you don't give yourselves enough credit for making sure that you don't say things out of the energy of harshness or spite. I think that you may demand a very high level of integrity from yourself in all that you do. And like with the bitter medicine of self-examination, that is not an easy task. I think that for lots of you, you have chosen to be vulnerable in the power of truth many times, even though you know it's going to be hard and scary, and even though you may feel that there's no safety net. You are not putting up walls of unkindness to protect yourself. It feels like you are creating your boundaries in a much more vulnerable way, allowing yourself to be imperfect in that space. And group 3, I think that another thing that you don't give yourself enough credit for is how much of the gifts of this examination of self and love you spread into the world. It feels as though you have so thoroughly sifted through the different parts of the experience of love, all of the painful and the beautiful and the inspiring and the delightful, that you are able to spread sweetness to many people. And I think maybe you don't even realize you're doing it. I feel like you don't realize how kind you really are, or how unusual it is to be as motivated by spreading goodness and gentleness and supportive truth as you are. You have managed to retain a level of innocence, and I want to say that it's innocence without naivety. It is a pure connection to spirit, which you have the bravery to maintain in a world that would easily and habitually threaten it. There is another thread here which has to do with clear-sightedness. I think you are a very clear-sighted group indeed. I think that for many of you, part of the reason you hold your tongue in many situations, unless you feel you have something meaningful or uplifting to add, is that you see so much. You might be very aware of people's motivations even when they aren't, but you won't be needlessly critical. And I think that this group has the wisdom to know when to hold their tongue and the wisdom to know when to speak. There is an element of leadership to you even if you don't inhabit that role in any official way. Possibly some of you do, but possibly some of you don't. But the way that you live is in itself an example for people, and I think that you have a lot of people who admire you. But that might not be something that you realize, or it might not even be relevant to you. If your priorities are to live in integrity with yourself, then the admiration of others is nice, but it's not your underlying motivation. So I'm also seeing how multifaceted you are. You bring many different kinds of understanding and knowledge and skill to what you do. And again, I'm not even sure that you realize that. You might be so focused on the flow of what's important to you and so dialed into your spirit mission that you don't see all the different ways that you're having an impact. I see you observing so many things and honoring and appreciating so much and acting with so much integrity and courage, allowing yourself to be taught wisdom even when it hurts and staying brave and heart-led in the face of challenges or the weaponization of emotions like shame or anger, or people's attempts to subdue and control. And honestly, people make those attempts unconsciously from their own fear. We often codependently try to control other people to be what we need them to be, but you keep yourself centered in love, and I think that you quietly stand against those patterns both in yourself and in others once you identify them. And I feel like this is a group of individuals who are really powerful, and people can tell that about you, so it's almost surprising when what you so often choose to offer to the world is gentleness. It's like people can tell that you yourself have faced really painful experiences and stood fiercely on your own in the midst of challenge, but when they look at what you choose for others, that is to treat people with gentleness or to uplift them. It's like you make pearls out of your pain. You know, when there is an oyster that is irritated by a grain of sand, it turns it into something that we call a treasure. And I feel like you do this as well. I feel like you make treasures out of your pain. And I also am getting that many of this group are, it's like you are fully in the world, but you are also not quite of the world. And I think for those of you for whom the earth angel energy resonates, it's like you are a soul who came here to help. And I feel as though even when you are facing intense challenges or disagreements, there is a part of you with an eye to what is fragile. There's a part of you paying attention to what's beautiful and what is possible within a situation, so you don't act in a fully destructive way. You don't try and take people down. You want to be very precise if you make a challenge, so that you're challenging only what is harmful while hopefully saving and honoring what's tender. So I could imagine that even in a disagreement with someone, you don't want to damage the fragile parts of them. You might be very careful and very diplomatic. And group 3, I think you don't give yourself credit for how kind that is. Because it seems as though even if you have been taken down in the past and had really painful things done to you, you are the type of warrior who refuses to hurt other people in the way that you have been hurt yourself. You are so pure-hearted, but it doesn't mean that you are not fierce. So you have this extraordinary bravery in what you do. And group 3, I hope that these messages resonated for you, and I hope that you are able to see yourself with some clarity and see this kindness and this fierce purity that you are carrying, and your bravery in facing not just the world, but facing what's in yourself and doing that work as well. So group 3, do give yourself credit for this. And I will say goodbye to you for today and wish you all the very best.